Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be talking about the fighter Paquito.
Welcome to Mobile Legends!
Paquito's passive makes him gain stacks when he uses his skills. Once he hits 3 stacks, he goes into this champ stance and makes his skills stronger. He has a reduced basic attack damage because of this passive, and he gains movement speed after using his enhanced skills. Paquito's first skill makes him punch in a specific direction, dealing damage to the target, and if he hits a hero, he actually gains a shield. In his champ stance, he deals more damage and gains more shield. Paquito's second skill makes him jab forward and deal damage in an AoE. So he will pass through minions, but he will stop when he hits creeps or heroes. In the champ stance, he deals more damage. Paquito's ultimate makes him dash forward, deal damage, then he will dash backwards while at the same time dealing damage and slowing the enemy down. However, in his champ stand, after he dashes forward, he will knock the enemy into the air instead of slowing them before he dashes backwards. So Paquito was recently nerfed. His basic attack does no more stacks, so this is the combo that I currently use with him. First, you jab forward with your S2, use your S1 and then ulti and then ulti again so that you can deal max damage with your ulti at the end of the combo. So Paquito has always been in the meta, I feel, because his attacks and his damage are all still quite strong and he's quite sturdy because of his Vamp abilities. However, recently they nerfed his passive. Basically his basic attacks do not do stacks anymore, but using his skills will allow him to deal stacks even without hitting an enemy now. So it sort of makes it easier to gain your max stacks if you just spam your skills. Paquito is most effective in the EXP lane because it allows him to gain his ultimate as soon as possible and deal maximum damage to the enemies. I have seen people use him in the jungle, but now because of the nerf to his basic attack, he doesn't gain stacks from that anymore, so he's not very effective in the early game to try to clear the jungle. People have used him as a tank before because of the fact that he's quite sturdy and his spell Vamp is quite strong, and he can control people by knocking them into the air and by whacking them quite hard, so he's actually quite good as a tank if you know how to play him properly. The key thing to playing Paquito properly is to aim his skills. If you use auto aim to use your skills, you're probably not going to do well with him because enemies will just try to sidestep your skills and you will not do any damage to them. So always aim your skills when you use Paquito. This is my emblem and build for Paquito. Paquito's core items are the War Axe, the Bloodlust Axe, and for defense items you can build a combination of whatever you see on the screen. Some people might want to build the Bloodlust Axe first to increase his Vamp ability, but because of your emblem, I recommend that you can build the War Axe first to make him a bit more sturdy and to increase his cooldown reduction before building the Bloodlust Axe to make him very tanky and sturdy. For defense items wise, Brute Force is basically for him to chase enemies and move around the map faster. Oracle is to increase his shield when he uses his first skill. Queen's Wings is to increase his spell Vamp ability when he is in dire situations, but basically the rest of the items are all quite standard. Spell wise, I like to recommend Flicker, so in case of situations where I need to run away and I don't have my second skill, I can still flicker away, and I can also do the Flicker surprise trick where I flicker to them and then use my skills to try and kill them. You can also use Execute if you are confident of your chances of running away or chasing after enemies so that you can deal that final last damage. Purify is also a good skill against CC heavy teams. This was the first time that I was playing Paquito after they had nerfed his passive. So actually, if you're moving along here, you can try to use your skills so that you can build up the stacks. By the time you reach the lane, you can actually use the skills to poke your enemy even better. I like leveling the second skill more because it does damage in an AoE, so I can clear the waves faster, and I can also poke enemies that are not within my reach. For example, if I was facing a long range marksman. There's no need to play too aggressive for Paquito in the early game because he needs his stacks in order to deal maximum damage, so just try to get to your second level so that you at least have your first and second skill to spam stacks instead. Here you can see that my tank is religiously protecting my marksman at the top because my marksman was destroyed by Natalia in the early game. If you are a tank, please don't do things like that because of the fact that if you just continue to babysit, the other lanes will also lose. And if the marksman continues to lose the fight even with you there, then the rest of the lanes are going to lose out because there is nobody to help them out and to roam and to gank. In this kind of cases where you see the enemy is taking the turtle but you are not the jungler, then what you should do is try to go for the jungler instead of trying to steal the turtle, because you don't have a retribution, there's no way you can try to steal it properly. So try to go for the jungler so that you poke them and then reset the turtle. If you feel that your jungler can confidently take the turtle by himself, then just try to zone the rest of the enemies out and maybe at the same time try to get a kill. In this case, me and Johnson were zoning the enemies out by pushing them away from the turtle just by being there. So always try to do this so that your jungler can take the turtle properly. When you're riding in Johnson, always try to go for the weakest enemy first. In this case, we know that the marksman is getting fed because our EV2 is losing the lane to her, so we should try to take her down as much as possible. And because she's the weakest and easiest to kill anyway. Here I saw that the enemy jungler was at the bottom lane, which means that his buff was free for the taking, so I decided to take it alongside with my tank so that we can try to delay the enemy's farm.
Ult is ready.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
Here I used the flicker trick to surprise the enemy jungler and enemy marksman. Just make sure you have your stacks up so that you can maximize the amount of damage that you deal and you can use your combo when you go in. Because of Paquito's passive and his second skill, he's quite able to chase enemies down and make sure that they die. So in this case, you can see the amazing chase sequence that I had with the Roger. Don't be greedy when you fight against a Nana, especially when you don't know whether she still has her passive or not. In this case, I died because of the Molina. When you fight enemies, always go for the weakest one first. In this case, Balmond is definitely more sturdy than Hanabi, so I decided to go for her instead. Like I said, always go for the weakest ones, especially if they're not expecting it. In this case, the Nana didn't expect that I would chase after her, so she was definitely the easiest one to kill. I honestly wasn't expecting Beatrice to be so painful and didn't expect the slow effect from her skills. I haven't really used her very much, so I'm not very sure how her skills work. A trick against fighting auto-aim marksmen is to make sure that when you're in the grass, you see this little white eye here. And then this means that they cannot see you, so you can actually dodge their basic attacks. They won't be able to attack you in this case. Always be aware of your own teammate's position. I saw that Aurora was coming down, which is why I was less aggressive and waited for her to come out before I started attacking. I came over to help in case the Zilong was already taking the turtles, but in this case I saw that Zilong was nowhere nearby, and I saw that Beatrix was taking the gold lane, which is why I decided to rotate straight away back down so that I prevent the Beatrix from getting too much gold farm from the tower. If you're the enemy, like I said in previous videos, if you're low health, just go back. You're a marksman, you're not a tank. Sometimes it's a good idea to swap lanes like the enemy did here, Terizla against me, because he's slightly more sturdy and can take my damage a little bit more. Only in this game did I realize how annoying Kufra is as a counter to Paquito. So if you're playing against a Kufra using Paquito, just make sure that you try not to use your skills against him when he's in his bouncing ball mode. Because your ultimate has a push, always be extra aware when you're using your skills with heroes like Tigreal. In this case, I accidentally pushed the Zilong out of the Tigreal's ult, which made him waste it, so that was my bad. Since we're losing the tower at the top, we should also take advantage and then take their tower at the bottom. Along with Sun, he is one of the best tower taking, so we should actually try to take the second tower as much as possible if we can. When you try to invade your enemy's buff and then you suddenly see that all the enemies are missing from the map, I think it's time to get out of there. In this case, it was my bad, I led him to his death. Don't be so eager to engage enemies, especially when you don't know whether your teammates will back you up. If not, you'll end up like me here.
Our turret is under attack. Initiate retreat.
When I was fighting here, I was a little bit confused. I think the Cyclops used Purify, which is why he didn't get CC'd by any of my skills. So always be aware of what your enemies are using as their spell. When the enemies come to try to contest Lord, always go for the enemies first and always go for the weakest. In this case, the Beatrix was here for me to kill. Remember, the aim of the game is to take down the tower. In this case, my Tiger did a great thing. He went to CC the Cyclops so he couldn't kill me so that I could take the tower in peace. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe and comment what other heroes you would like to see me play.